Hello and welcome back to Mass Effect 2. Last time, we got a lot of things done. One of them is destroying a mass relay with a giant asteroid, which apparently works. And we somehow managed to see it, even though technically the Normandy was through the relay before that happened. And I guess they just assumed that it worked, since the other relay that the Alpha relay connected to doesn't work anymore, I guess. And then we also had a nice friendly chat with Harbinger, who is the leader of all of the Reapers. Still, Harbinger did not leave quite as much of an impression as Sovereign did. Really, not that much. And then we also had a chat with Admiral Stephen Hackett, who said that Batarians will not be really happy about losing their system. And then, I guess, Shepard might get court-martialed back on Earth, eventually. Not yet, though, but in fact that does have quite a direct connection to Mass Effect 3. In fact, Arrival was the very last DLC that was made for this game, if you don't count this Genesis thing. And it's basically Mass Effect 2.3, let's be honest. And this time, we have a few things to do. We have completed almost all the DLC, but we do have still one DLC left to do. We have not finished one other DLC, and we have some more assignments to do. We have finished all of the assignment chains that we could. All the arcs are done. But there are still some assignments that are not connected to any other assignments. Also, we're in the local cluster because that star system got destroyed. So we do have some things that we could investigate. One of them is to finish Firewalker. So let's go start that. I guess I'll go to Project Overlord, which is the last DLC, later. Probably at the very end of collecting all of the listing all of the planets and all of the star systems to get 100% in each. Not going to visit these yet. Let's go to the other places first. So we have Century in the Hawking Eta cluster. Let's see what's here. Tamahera. Tamahera has a thin atmosphere of carbon dioxide and xenon. The surface is icy and composed of sodium oxide with deposits of calcium. It contains a few unremarkable metals, but mainly consists of rock. The presence of canyons and floodplains indicates that liquid water once existed, suggesting Tamahera had a thicker, insulating atmosphere in the past. So it's a rock. Alright. Klendagon. Well, we've heard this name before. This was a planet that we could land on in the first game. Klendagon is an arid terrestrial, slightly larger than Earth, but with a lower density that reflects its relative lack of heavier elements. The crust is composed of tin and aluminium, with wide deserts of dust-fine sand that are easily stirred by the wind. Klendagon's most striking feature is the Great Rift Valley that stretches across the southern hemisphere. What is most fascinating about the rift is that it does not appear to be natural. The geological record suggests it is the result of a glancing blow by a mass accelerator round of unimaginable destructive power. This occurred some 37 million years ago. Reapers? More likely than you think. Or a war with the Reapers, that is also possible. Southern Hemisphere, I wonder if it's shown on the planet itself. Not much is visible in the Southern Hemisphere, actually. But it could be somewhere here. Alright, anything here? I think there was an asteroid or two in here. in the first game, but we don't have asteroids that we can mine in this game. So there's nothing here now. Cantra. A terrestrial world of average size, Cantra's atmosphere composed of nitrogen and argon. Is composed? Its frozen surface is mainly composed of tin with deposits of calcium. Aside from some spectacular formations of water ice at the poles, the planet has little to recommend it. Morox. Alright. This is not a very exciting system now, is it? Aside from Klendagon. Theropto. Theropto is a typical ice gas giant with traces of chlorine and sulfur in its atmosphere. It has over 100 moons and an extensive ring system composed of pulverized rock, presumably the debris from shattered moons. Can you actually get rings from shattered moons? How do you even shatter a moon, though? But okay. So that was the Century system, and now we have Ver, which is where our next mission is going to be. Let's start with all the other ones. Serau. Serau is a standard hydrogen-helium gas giant. Its most obvious features are a pair of gigantic storm cells, one in the northern hemisphere and one in the south. While richer in helium-3 than Lusa, the difficulties of extraction from Serau's gravity well and stormy atmosphere led to the other gas giant's development. Serau has over 80 moons, ranging from a radius of 50 to 2,000 kilometers. The Asari Tersicore Council has established an observation post on one of the larger moons to study the planet's twin storm systems. Interesting. Is that also reflected here? This kind of maybe is something like that, but not exactly. Yeah, there's nothing bigger shown here. That's a bit unfortunate. I'm pretty sure they could have made a texture that does show two storm cells. And of course, this is Alusa. Alusa is a small, dense ice giant with high concentrations of water, ammonia, and methane. A few automated helium-3 fuel stations have been established to refuel the ore freighters shuttling to and from Corang. Apparently Asari. And Corang itself.
Anomaly detected.
Initial surveys of Corang noted its high density and active plate tectonics, suggesting a high internal heat fueled by a greater than normal concentration of heavy elements and radioactives. Early test cores proved the mineral richness of the world, but distance from the mass relay in the Century system made it unprofitable to develop until late 2183. The atmosphere is a smog of methane, ammonia, and water vapor, a so-called primordial soup similar to the conditions of early Earth. However, there is no evidence of life developing on Corang's surface beyond the level of simple dextroamino acids. The minimal energy input of the red dwarf Ver have created an energy-starved surface environment, though the planet's volcanism does hold open some possibility for subterranean development. Okay. So there are merchant freighters that go here, but it doesn't say that anyone is living here? Would they even allow people to go here so easily if there is a possibility of life developing there? I guess in theory, like that's not a garden world. And it's rich, of course. But we really don't care about minerals anymore.
Probe launched. Something on our sensors.
Anomaly detected. Scans have found locations matching the descriptions of Dr. Case's survey sites. Exploring the sites could reveal valuable mission data. Warning, Geth presence detected on planet's surface. Use extreme caution. Geth, you say? Well, alright then. Let's go. Obviously, I want to take our own Geth. And... whoever is related to the Geth, I guess. Let's take Tally. Let's also change from the nuke to the ice thrower, because we'd never use that, or the flamethrower, but I mean, kind of obvious how the flamethrower works, the same way as in Unreal 2, so let's go with that. And I think this completely doesn't matter. And we have the mod of the week.
Scanning for mission objectives.
The mod of the week is Alliance
Mission
Hammerhead.
objectives located.
I have changed the, well, it's a mod that changes the appearance of the Hammerhead. Instead of having Cerberus logos, now we have Alliance logos on the side. And it's blue instead of orange. There are two variants. One is blue instead of white, and also dark. But I didn't want to deviate too much from the standard looks of the Hammerhead. So this is nice, more Alliance. And we have Geth. So let's see. Oh, I cannot save. Well, let's show something. The difference between the Hammerhead and the Mako. So far so good. Quite similar to the Mako. We have Geth that we can shoot. We can boost.
Dropship detected.
And we have a Geth Colossus. We can still shoot them down. But, hear the siren. That's damage. The Hammerhead takes a hilarious amount of damage, very quickly. The only reason why it is still alive right now is because we are now on hardcore instead of insanity. On insanity, the Hammerhead would have been completely destroyed if I did that. You cannot just go in and ram into enemies and expect to survive, unlike in the first game. So that's quite a bit of a difference. Also, this looks like a Prothean orb. This is clearly Geth technology. Sort of. I mean, these are the Survey beacons from the first game. Interesting how that goes too. And these are bombs from the first game. It's always interesting to see how uniquely the same static meshes can be reused for different purposes. I guess with the DLCs like this, they had to do some creative use of static meshes like that. Probably not that much budget to create new ones. So let's do things properly. Very carefully. Can I never save? Yes, I can never save. Good to know. Also, we're searching for artifacts, apparently. And this looks like another Geth dropship point, but I can see something out there. So let's go!
Warning. Geth forces detected.
Another dropship. And another Colossus. Well, I mean, it's not like it's doing anything. Whoa, don't fall.
Extraction complete.
Platinum. It's nice to be able to fight Geth Colossi that are not, like, self-healing all the time. Those exist too. Right. So another artifact. Not sure why we're looking for those. We already solved the mystery of Dr. Case and Aloy. Doctor's Case and Aloy? But sure, more artifacts is always good, I guess. Ooh. Get up. Anything missing here? Doesn't look like it. Oh. Going inside. Or it's possible to go here. No, a fork in the road.
Warning. Hostile forces approaching.
That was a rocket trooper.
Acquired.
250 credits for getting an artifact. Let's pretend that it's not Cerberus funding like they say, but rather Alliance funding. I'm sure they can make good use of these artifacts as well. And I think this is where the paths meet. Yes. The hammerhead certainly moves quite fast. I think it's useful to use this ramp to get all the way up here. Also goes quite a bit upwards. Ah, another mining location. Phew, that was kind of close.
Extraction complete. Geth dropship detected.
Oh, a Geth Prime. As well as a Colossus, or an armature. Yeah, that's a Colossus too. That's quite the same as with the Mako.
Acquired.
4 out of 5 artifacts. I think the mission ends when we collect all the artifacts, so let's make sure not to collect the last one before we're certain that we picked everything up. So we got here from that way. Let's see what's over here. There's a way to get up there as well. Whoa! Where do I want to go? There's no indication of direction either. Now I feel that I should first check what's up there. Otherwise I will have to navigate this place once again. Oh! Rocket drones. Interesting. And that was a good choice, because this is our mining spot.
Extraction complete.
And in fact, that lets us skip the whole thing down there. Huh. That thing looks interesting, but I don't think that's a mining spot. So let's just go forward to this last place.
Geth forces detected.
Uh-oh. That.
Acquired.
And here we go.
Mission objectives completed.
Oh. Good thing I checked here. And good thing that it doesn't auto end. Whoops. To control where it is. It moves around automatically. I need to adjust so that it stays inside.
Extraction
There we go.
complete.
And if we go forward, this I think just brings us back to the start. Yeah. Sort of. It's actually the middle. That was a weird interaction, but okay. We're done here. Mission complete. Data recovered from planet's surface. Historically significant artifacts recovered. Dr. Case's location not found amongst recovered data. Geth presence on the planet eradicated. Experience gain 156, useless. Credits 2,500. 1,250 from the Alliance, and we found 1,250 as well. And 5,000 platinum. So that's done, and that's probably the last thing that we can do in this star cluster. But let's see. Oh, this one is complete, so we are just going to Schwarzschild.
We'll at 1/2 capacity.
Oh, that is a big star. Hey, we're inside the star. Atahil. A typical Venusian greenhouse world, Atahil is only of note for a few scattered craters. Though flattened by millions of years of high pressure, the marks of orbital bombardment strikes are unmistakable. It is generally accepted among academics that whoever hailed from or settled Schwarzschild's second planet, Terminus, must have had outposts on Atahil as well. Bombardment strikes. That does not sound good. So the second planet is this one. Let's see what was up with that. Terminus. Terminus is a super-terrestrial world, a third larger than Earth. It is in a post-garden state that clearly shows evidence of attack from space. While now waterless, the shores of former oceans show patterns of cratering too regular to be anything but saturation bombardment by Dreadnought-class kinetic weapons. Although it is unclear how, most of the atmosphere has been lost. Archaeologists have found little of note. It appears that all settled regions were touched by the global bombardment. The few relics found suggest an advanced spacefaring culture thrived on the world somewhere between from 20 and 40 million years ago. The level of antiquity makes it impossible to estimate the world's former population, or guess whether it was the race's homeworld or a colony. Could that be Protheans? Maybe. And it quite likely is the Reaper's invasion that went on here. It's a bit further away, but the star is giant. Orbital period also a bit longer, makes sense. Radius quite large. Day length quite long. Lost its atmosphere, so the pressure is low. And the temperature is low. Wow. So it's a big but very low energy star? Does that work? Two more planets to go. Lenosa. Lenosa is a hydrogen-helium gas giant. It is surrounded by several thin rings of debris. Analysis of this debris has been difficult due to its extreme age and fragility, but several apparently nano-manufactured materials have been identified. The leading theory is that the inhabitants of Atamis mined the atmosphere for helium-3. That seems to be a popular concept, but it makes sense, I suppose. You got gas giants everywhere. Rihali. Rihali is a typical hydrogen-helium gas giant. It is notable because none of its moons is larger than 12 kilometers in diameter, a rare trait amongst the charted gas giants of the galaxy. So it has very small moons. Alright. So we only have the main system left. Well, only two things here actually. Hebat. Hebat is a methane ammonia ice giant. When Heavy Metals Exomining of China won the bidding rights to develop the moon of Prestrop in the Century system, it began by establishing helium-3 refueling facility on Hebat. The station, completed this year, is considered a model facility by the executives of the state-run company. Though the station produces more than enough fuel to supply the HMEC ships running to and from Century, it has a crew of only a dozen for maintenance and oversight. Nearly all the day-to-day operations are automated. Interesting development. And yes, right, so Prestrop was the moon of Klendagon, I think. That's why it's in the Century system, and that's what we could land on, not Klendagon itself. Right. Teshub. The first and larger of the two gas giants in the Hawking Eta Gateway system, Teshub is composed mainly of hydrogen and helium. The brown and orange coloration in its upper cloud decks are caused by the upwelling of sulfur from lower levels of the atmosphere. Alright. So let's go to another star cluster. Well, since this is a pretty good divide between the star systems, let's just go from here in this way and here, and then go to the Phoenix massing as the last thing. So the Shadow Sea is completed. Let's go to the Nubian Expanse. We have two systems here, and I think we have enough fuel to get to both of them. It's quite close. Whoa! That is a big star. Almost as big as the one that that the Elusive Man is gazing at all the time. Noressa. Noressa is an unremarkable methane ammonia ice giant with a small family of icy moons. It is likely that the Cartasi system had additional worlds earlier in its history, but these have been swallowed by the agent giant star. Cartasi is an elderly, metal-poor population 2-star, broadly similar to Arcturus. Interesting. So Arcturus has a giant star as well. So this is elderly. Does that mean that it is turning into a supernova? Could be. And then we have Kalabsha. Only 2 planets here too. Yam. With over 90% of its surface covered in oceans, Yam is a habitable nitrogen-oxygen world, but its extremes can be quite hostile to sapient life. The heat from its extremely long days reaches dangerous levels, ranging from 24 Celsius at night to 53 in the afternoon in the temperate zones. Hurricanes run unchecked across the oceans, with winds reaching up to 250 kilometers per hour. While there are some arthropod-like animals, the predominant forms of life are various kinds of toxic algae blooms that stretch hundreds of kilometers across. However, other hydrocarbon algae blooms are suitable for use as biofuel, and farming the green gold forms the backbone of Yam's economy. Colony founded 2170 CE, population 500,000. Capital New Karnak. Is that Egypt? Orbital distance 2 astronomical units. 2 Earth years for the orbital period, so it's quite far away. Radius is relatively small. Day length kind of long, as explained, indeed. Pressure is high, surprisingly. Surface temperature high, surface gravity is okay. There's probably element 0 here too. Tefnut. Yeah, that does sound Egyptian. A hydrogen-helium gas giant, Tefnut is home to a helium-3 collection and the nearest refueling facility to the Nubian Expanse's mass relay. As such, it is a major gateway to the Verge and Terminus Systems, and has become famous for its hospitality industry. Tefnut's motto is known throughout the galaxy: like home, only better. Visitors here can stay at expansive resource stations, watch locally produced entertainment, buy mind-affected substances not welcome in Citadel space, and run companionship. Resources are shipped in from Yam at substantial discounts, allowing the small space stations to have surprising luxuries such as edible arthropods and large amounts of fresh water. Population 33,800 spread across 5 space stations. That's a lot of people living on space stations, considering that there's a garden world nearby. But alright, so that is all here. And we do have this system itself to look at. This is where Pragia was. And probably there's nothing else of interest here, but we still need to go through all the descriptions of all the planets. But that will be for another time. See you all then. Later.